up, everybody? Travis and Sky with Texas Showshine. So we're working on a Audi RS7. It's brand new. Only has 78 miles on it. Black. It's for one of my clients. He has several cars that he's had us work on. One of them was the Hellhound, the 1300 horsepower Jeep. He's got a Hellcat Charger, a Shelby pickup, and then also this new RS7 that he just picked up. So going into this job, and any job really, you can never assume too much. You'd think it's a brand new Audi, it only has 78 miles on it, the paint probably won't be in that bad a shape, but that's simply just not the case. And there's lots of random isolated scratches on the Audi, and we weren't able to put together any pad or buffing liquid combination that would allow us to do just a single step. So we're having to multi-step paint correction. So that's our compound with Americana 1500, brand new formula that just came out. We've been working on it for about 6 months. Really excited to have a great cycle time, a lot of cut, still finish it out as a one-step pretty consistently on most colors. So really happy with that compound. And then followed up with the black exact fit foam polishing pad by Americana and the finesse jeweling polish
by Americana.
Yeah, the Americana system as a whole is designed to work together. So with this new compound formulation and the pad line coupled with the finesse jeweling polish, it's a pretty solid option to go into just about any paint correction job that you have and know that you can get the results that you need. So if you just have a handful of things, then there's not too many obstacles that you're going to encounter throughout the correction that, you know, the products that you have on hand aren't going to take care of.
We might.
So earlier today we polished out, compound polished the hood and the driver's side. We're taking a little break to get some coffee and dinner, and then we're going to go back and do the passenger side, the roof, trunk, and work on some of those random isolated scratches. So we'll take you along for the rest of the journey, and as always, appreciate you watching. Another thing I'll cover for the Audi project, we are going to do a ceramic coating on it. We're going to do the silver 5-year protection plan. So what that includes is we washed the car, clayed the car, and then wiped it down with stripper to remove any oils and residue before we started the paint correction. Did some taping to protect some edges, 2-step paint correction, and then we're going to decontaminate with stripper again, which is oil and residue remover. We're just wanting to get the surface, or every surface, surgically clean before we apply the coating to it. After it's completely clean, then we'll do the coating. So we're going to coat the glass, the paint, the wheel faces, all the plastic, trim, headlights, taillights. We're going to put Ceramic Pro 9H, which is our base coat on all that. Just the paint, I guess. And then we'll put Ceramic Pro Rain and Ceramic Pro Light on the glass. We're going to put wheel and caliper on the wheels. So we're just adding that new sacrificial layer of protection over the entire vehicle. We're doing the paint correction so that we can restore the vehicle into the best possible condition before we lock it in with the coating. I don't recommend, and I won't personally install a coating without some type of paint correction. The paint surface just needs to be exfoliated in that way, at least a one-step polish, nano polish, something, run over it, just to ensure that you're stripping any previous protective products that could potentially be left on there, or water spots, or, you know, it can be 100 different things. But that diligence to do a one-step correction is going to prevent some possible coating process difficulties or coating potential failure conditions. If it's not completely clean, it couldn't get a good adhesion. If you have water spots that show up after you put the coating on because you didn't do a proper polish to prime the surface, I always paint correct before I apply the coating. If I don't, then I don't warranty it. The car. We finished our paint correction. We pulled all the tape. We pulled the tape after we compounded and before we polished, so that way we can eliminate tape lines, because we know that the jeweling polish doesn't stain any of the trim. But we left the house, we come back, the car's been sitting for a little while, so we're spraying it off with air, blowing everything out of the cracks and off the surfaces before we do our decontamination. The reason being, dust and whatnot in the air falls onto the car. When it falls onto the car, you go to wipe the car down, then you're dragging the dirt across the surface. Same thing as if your car got dirty in the garage and you just wipe it off with a towel. That's not good, that ruins the paint. So especially right after we paint corrected and before we do our coating, I definitely don't want to be dragging the dirt across the surface of the car. So when the compressor kicks off, I'll throw in a few more tips. Okay, so we blew the car off, threw all the dust, any loose debris from the surface, so that whenever we do our decontamination and our panel wipe, that we're not dragging any surface contaminants across the clear coat, because we just corrected the paint. We don't want to reintroduce any scratches. We're using the Americana stripper. It's an extreme oil and residue remover. Shooting it on the panel, letting it sit for about 45 seconds to a minute. It's removing and breaking down through a solvent evaporative process. Oil, grease, wax, polymers, anything that could potentially be left on the surface of the paint, clear coat, glass, wheels, trim, plastic. We're gonna wipe the entire thing down. Basically, when we end our paint correction, that's like the end of all cleaning of the vehicle. You want everything on the vehicle at that point to be extremely clean, so then you can start coating, so you're not reintroducing any type of contaminants back on to the surface through the coating process. You're going to do all the cleaning right now of any leftover crap that's still hanging out before you start the paint correction. That means wipe out all the door jams, the trunk jam, the hood jam. You're opening all that stuff out, wiping, the seals, wiping just everywhere. All the nooks, crannies, cracks, that's where all the shit hides that you don't want to have left over. So it's important to go through and clean all those little intricate spots before you start coating. That's why we blow them out with air, trying to release and just get the last of any type of dirt.
You sure it's testing on camera?
See, the reason we're at this point in the video and you haven't seen any footage is because I really don't like talking on camera. And I figure the only way to really do that is if I'm just myself, and I cuss a lot, so I guess if people don't like
Own
that,
it.
I gotta just be me. I can't be politically correct all the time.
Hey,
So,
monkey arms.
yeah, so when we start this, we're gonna start on the top and work our way to the bottom, just like with every other process of cleaning and correction. When you coat, you start from the top, you work to the bottom. When you clean, top to bottom. When you paint correct, you paint correct top to bottom.
This is one not like messed it with that with my hands can reach it.
Stripper is safe on just about every surface. If you haven't tried it on a particular surface yet, then you'd want to test it in a small inconspicuous area, but I haven't put it on anything that it's had any adverse reactions with so far. So if you're going to coat the glass, you should be claying the glass, deconning the glass, sometimes even putting a primer polish on the glass. The glass slides through these door seals, window seals, weather stripping, and so it's being constantly pushed through an abrasive surface. Same thing with the windshield wipers. So that's one of the reasons glass doesn't last as long from a coating standpoint, and a lot of times the coating doesn't prep the glass the same way that they would prep the paint to be coated.
Which it is the same exact process.
It is the same process, yeah. It needs to go through the exact same steps in order to ensure that it's not only clean and decontaminated, and that you want to prep it right for coating. When you open up your towels, there's little plastic rivets that hold the towels together. You're always going to make sure and chase those down. Every time I pick up a towel before I wipe a panel, I always inspect the towel. The reason I do that is because I didn't always do that, and I got a leaf or a twig or something in my towel. After I'm at this stage, decon, and you put a scratch back in, and so I always check my towel before I wipe it on the car to make sure I'm not going to cause any damage. That's why I always use new towels. Most people use old, nasty, dirty, reused, been sitting in the garage or in the trunk of your car, and those towels are just going to scratch your car. That's why everybody has scratches in their car. If you wanted to take another step of precaution, you can put on rubber gloves just to ensure there's no oil transfer from your hands to the surfaces that you're cleaning. Towel-wise, I use a towel that has an 80-20 split minimum. All towels, all polishing pads, everything's made of polyester. But there's a material called polyamide or polyamide, and that's what makes the towel or the polishing pad or whatever soft. That's what makes it soft to the paint to where it's not going to scratch it by dragging glorified fishing line, 100% polyester, over the surface.
No polyester.
No, baby. All towels have polyester. Everything's made from polyester.
Everything.
All towels and polishing pads. I just said that. She just likes to chime in. Yeah? Yeah, no polyester, guys.
Woo! No polyester.
Everything has polyester.
Yeah, but you can get the 80-20, that's...
The 80-20 is what you're looking for. You need
Exactly.
the 20% polyamide.
Polymide, polymade.
Polyamide. There's like this window that goes down and there's some crack. I don't know what's on the inside, so we'll do it that way. If you were using the absolute best method, then you would have already cleaned the inside. That way, it's a brand new car, so granted the paint was trash, but the interior, on the other hand, is pretty freaking cherry. So just a quick wipe and a vacuum, and it'll be good to go. So we're not going to really risk cross-contaminating any internal contaminants from the inside of the car back to the outside of the car after we've already coated, which you wouldn't want to do. But that's why we haven't cherried the inside on this one yet. Sometimes I can tell you the best way. It's not always the way I do it, but at least I can give you the thought process to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. So we're going to finish our decon, and then I'll talk y'all through basically setting up and prepping for ceramic coating. Alright, we got the car wiped down, getting ready to coat, which is just my table where I'm going to put all my stuff. Taking a dirty towel, dirty-ish, wipe it down, that way there's not any dirt, debris, dust, anything that can potentially get in the towels that I'm going to be using to remove the coating. Here's one of the little plastic. These can ruin a coating job if you don't get them out. Looks like there's some there. I use multiple pile towels usually. I use a low pile towel for my first wipe and my third wipe, and I usually use a higher pile towel for my second wipe. The first wipe, I'm just trying to mainly level the coating and make sure that I get the majority of the coating off in my first wipe. First wipe is going to be the most firm pressure of any of the three wipes. I'm going to use straight line passes. That's going to be my first wipe. Now I'm going to come back with a higher pile towel for my second wipe. The higher pile towel just helps to remove extra coating. It's got more fibers on the towel, so you're able to remove just a little bit more of the coating. We're going to be applying Ceramic Pro 9H, which is our base coat. We're going to lay that tonight. Tomorrow we're going to come back and apply Ceramic Pro Light, which is our top coat. After I do my first two wipes, then I come back with a third clean side of another lower pile towel and get the remaining of any coating that could still be hanging out on the surface of the paint. Now that towel method, I try to stick to it, but I'm not always perfect. So I'll try and do color coded. Blue, yellow, and looks like it's going to be green. I guess I'll keep track of how many towels we use so I can tell you. If I was to guess, I would guess 15. Before you start wiping with the towel, again, it's a good measure, no matter what part of the process of cleaning, coating, paint correction you're in, to always check the towel for debris, dust, leaves, anything that could be hanging out in the fibers of the towel. You do not want to mess up the paint at this stage in the process. I really like working with the edgeless towels. Auto fiber. There's some on Amazon called Lantine Show. I really like those. Again, in a towel, you're always looking for a minimum of an 80-20 split of polyester and polyamide. Polyamide is what makes the towel soft. If polyamide or polyamide is not listed on the package for the towel, then it's most likely not in there, and therefore you shouldn't be using that towel on your car. I'm also going to be using one microfiber pad. Typically takes me about 10 milliliters of product on any given two-door car. So this is just under the black label whenever I turn it upside down. If you turn it sideways and you can kind of get a read, I would say there's probably 12 to 15 milliliters in this bottle. We're obviously coating a large four-door car, so I think this will get us through to the end. We shall see. On another note, it's always good to have extra product in case you break a bottle during installation, you run out of product, you end up having to go back and reverse the process because you made an error or something bad happened, whatever that may be, and you have to go back and reapply. So you should always have more than enough product on hand. It's always going to pay for itself. It's going to cost you money if you don't have it in the wrong situation. And then the last thing I need is my rubber gloves. Where's the rubber gloves at? I think they're in one of my red bags. Alright, so that's what you need. You don't have to have the high pile, you don't have to have the low pile. You can do the job with any of these towels, especially if they're 80-20. If they're not, don't use them. Alright, let me get my gloves, meet you at the hood. One last thing to note before you get started. Whenever you're first starting your application, take your 9-inch bottle, wipe any dried out product, always remove the stopper, wipe it out. If there's anything plugged in the hole and I take my air compressor and blow it out, that's just going to ensure that no dried product, any hard coating falls into my applicator, causes scratches through application. So always clean that. So remove the hood and get started. Alright, it's time to apply. On my very first, I'm priming the pad. So I'm going to get about 20 to 30 drops. Good even coverage on the entire pad. I'm going to lay out half the hood at one time. I take big long strokes through the center of the panel, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to drag that product over the whole panel. Then I want to stretch it out in the bulk, bigger section of the panel, and then go back and work it into the panel as a whole. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can see it. liquid on the surface, you just want to make sure that you have 100% coverage of the liquid on the surface. Then for my second one, since I am laying out a bigger area still, I did about 10 to 12 drops. Again, wiped it on the bigger part of the panel. Come back and string it up. Now do the bulk product as you move it will be at the end of your strokes, so you can always wipe the edges at the very end. Make sure you don't leave a big smeary spot of product at the end of your stroke when you're spreading it. I'm going to use probably 3 dots for this edge. It's good to move fast. I'm going to use about 3 more little drops on this side. Now it's pretty cool right now. Probably 50s, 60s outside. It's about 60 degrees, 55, something like that in the garage. If it's hot and humid, then you end up having to do this in about 4 or 5 sections because the product's going to start flashing and drying out on you. So I'm going to move to my first wipe. Got my first towel, clean side. I'm just doing firm pressure, straight line strokes. Now to get a little bit more product removal and better use out of your towel, always keep your hand flat, but you can pick your hand up, turn it, it's applying pressure to a different part of the towel. And just finish leveling the product here. And we're moving the bulk of the coating with my first wipe. So I know this is the used side. I'm going to put my good side facing down. Then I move to my second wipe. My second wipe. Small circles. Very light pressure. You're literally just buffing off that extra product. So I use both sides of that. So I'm going to flip it. Sometimes just you can smell for the coating, see which side's used and unused. Third towel. I use a lot of short, choppier strokes. My hand is just barely sitting on the surface of the paint. I'm barely using any pressure. I just want to give it one more real through of white, making sure I'm getting all the coating off. I always pay a lot of attention to the end of my stroke, so around the edges, all the body lines, the edges of the hood here, here. That's going to be the last place I wipe, because every time I make a stroke, I push product out to the edge, so I'm wanting to come back, make sure I get that product from the end of the stroke. We do that throughout the entire car. Pick sections that are manageable. Start small. As you get comfortable and familiar, you can work bigger areas depending on temperature, environment. So yeah, that's how you apply Ceramic Pro 98.
Is over. The monsters in my head are scared of love. Funny people, listen up. It's never too late to change your love. So don't let them steal your life.
Twerk it, baby.